Charlie, Jerome, Mark, single. Before I even ask a question, I want to get your reaction on that. Have we heard anything new tonight? Anything?
Well, we heard some policies from President Trump that will now get copied by the Harris campaign because they've been doing a lot of that. Every good idea he comes up with, they try to copycat. But he said, look, there aren't going to be any taxes on tips. There aren't going to be any taxes on Social Security. That's a big one. We're going to go after China. We're going to impose policies there that worked before, that will work again, that will be good for American men and women.
Mark, what do you think it looks like to the American people, specifically, undecided voters, when Trump says, hey, I said no tax on tips, and then Kamala Harris said no tax on tips? Does that look bad?
No. If it's a good idea, it's a good idea.
But was it his good idea?
Who cares? I mean, the point of the matter is that you want to do what's good for the American public. And I'll tell you what is not good is imposing 10% tariffs on foreign goods, because you are going to drive up the cost of everything that's made overseas, which means that every household in America is going to pay more. Every economist that has gone on record has said that's a nutty idea. So that's one of the bad ideas you heard today.
And that's completely opposite from what he's saying.
I love this. Every economist, not every economist has done that. There are plenty of economists that think it's a good idea. And look, I'm going to be very candid. There is a downside to imposing tariffs, right, but there is a huge upside. And President Trump outlined that today. There is increased revenue because of the tariffs themselves, and there's leverage against China, our principal economic and military adversary in this world, that goes far beyond the dollars and cents of the tariffs.
Well, we can continue to debate this, but let's not forget history. The Depression was caused by the Smoot-Hawley Act, which imposed tariffs on people because we wanted to buy America, and we were focused on America first. And that's why the Depression really came to be. We can't go and repeat that. We can't go back in that direction.
And let me remind Mark that the world in 1929 was just slightly different than it is 100 years later.
He actually did, say we're headed towards the Depression. It's funny.
Well, we are, because of the policies of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. There's no question about that. They've driven this economy into the ground, and now it's got to be resuscitated. And the person to do that is Donald Trump and the policies that he had during his presidency. But again, coming to the point that Mark just made, we're in a global economy now. Right. We weren't in 1929. And so
that's why you cannot do global tariffs, because you're going to get reciprocal tariffs placed on you.
And look, Mark, I don't disagree with you that there are problems with tariffs, but the non-tariff policies that we had surely didn't work, because we had an outrageous imbalance of trade. We had stuff coming into this country that shouldn't have been coming in. We had price gauging, as Kamala Harris would say, price gouging on the part of our foreign adversaries. We had currency manipulation and all sorts of crazy stuff. Donald Trump put that under control.
So he says in the first 12 months he wants to cut energy in half: heat, air, gas, electricity. Is that a good goal?
You mean the cost of it?
Yes.
Good luck with that. I mean, it's pie in the sky. And this is the problem with Donald Trump when he gets on stage. He shows how inept he really is. He really doesn't have a grasp of the issues. He doesn't have any background on it. He doesn't do the study necessary. So he throws all these things out there, good, touchy-feely things, and red meat to the base. But they really are not going to find their way into policy, because the Congress isn't going to go along with that.
What are you hearing that's happening at the DNC? Anything as it starts today in Chicago?
It's going to be the typical pep rally, and I think they're geared up to a very huge kind of embrace of Joe Biden, and he's going to pass the baton to Kamala Harris. And I think that this is going to be 4 days of unity, and the Democrats showing what a ruling, governing party really looks like.
Well, let me just say a couple of things here. And I forgot the point that Mark made against a moment ago, because I just had to chuckle at it. It was with respect to what Donald Trump does and doesn't know about the economy vis-a-vis what Kamala Harris doesn't know. She can't even read off the teleprompter, for crying out loud. Seriously, she's talking about price gauging instead of price gouging because she can't read off the teleprompter, which is all that she does. She hasn't talked about any policy pronouncement in any detail whatsoever. So at least with Donald Trump, you know where he stands, you know what he's going to do, et cetera. And what they're doing in Chicago, yes, they're going to have a love fest for Joe Biden tonight, and then they're going to spend the rest of the week running away from him as fast as they possibly can, because this was the most unpopular president in American history at the time he dropped out of the race. and they're going to say, oh, he did this great thing. No, he got forced out by his own party. And he's now talking about the fact he's getting real happy about Nancy Pelosi and some of the folks that put the squeeze on him.
All right, Mark, what do you have to say?
Oh, my gosh. Joe Biden did a heroic thing. He realized that he had lost a step. He realized that he underperformed in that debate. And in order to make sure that we do not subject this country to the maniacal maneuverings of a Donald Trump again, he stepped down and said, let's fix this. And the Democrats fixed this. And there is nothing but enthusiasm for this ticket, and it's moving in the right direction.
Well, of course, it wasn't the debate. The debate revealed what had been going on, that the Democrats, and Kamala Harris in particular, had been lying about to the American. Mark, it's true.
Don't be calling them liars.
They were liars, flat-out liars. And they covered up the fact that they knew with metaphysical certainty that it was more than he had lost a step, that he was suffering from dementia, that he wasn't capable of leading the country. And finally, they got around to themselves saying, Mr. President, you've got to get out or we're going to invoke the 25th Amendment. And those are facts at this point. This nonsense about, oh, he did a heroic thing. He knew he couldn't win.
There was
he knew he was going to lose.
There was nobody talking about the 25th Amendment.
Yes, they were. Nancy Pelosi was.
And by the way, if you want to talk about putting the faux pas that Donald Trump makes every time he opens his mouth and the just flat falsehoods that he utters from his mouth, go ahead and put those side by side by Joe Biden or Kamala Harris. He was in Pennsylvania last weekend and thought he was in North Carolina. So don't tell me that somebody...
Let's listen to a little bit about the former president, what he just said within the last hour. We're going to listen to that, and we'll get your reaction.
Our plan will massively cut taxes, unlock American energy, slash regulations, big factor, crack down on trade cheaters and stop outsourcing, rebuild our industrial base and bring back those beautiful words, made in the USA.
Mark, what's your reaction on that?
He spent 4 years as president with the Senate and the House of his same party and never did get around to passing an infrastructure bill, unlike Joe Biden, who did. And he put millions and millions of people to work. He put 15 million people to work. The inflation rate is down from a high of 9% under Trump to under 3% right now. The stock market is booming. The economy is booming. We're on the right track.
Mark, once again, fact check, he did not have both the House and the Senate under his control. Let's be clear about that. And what is he asking us for? Increased manufacturing. That's what we've been saying America needed for a long time. The key to that is energy and energy development. Kamala Harris says she wants a total ban on fracking.
Again.
A total ban on fracking. Oh, she didn't say that.
It's not true. She didn't
say that.
If she said that, it was years ago.
No,
her position now
it was just a couple of years ago. Now she's going to say something different.
A couple of years ago could be 25,
no,
an
it was
eternity
2 years ago.
Charlie, it doesn't matter. The official policy, and if you read the policy of the Democrats, it's to encourage fracking in states like Pennsylvania.
So is she lying then, or is she lying now?
Okay, Charlie, you can call her a liar all you want.
Well, which is it?
No, I'm not going to play that
game.
It
is the third time in Pennsylvania in just a few weeks for former President Trump. Obviously, Kamala Harris was in Pittsburgh yesterday, and J.D. Vance is in Philadelphia. So, I mean, all eyes are on Pennsylvania, right?
We were asked in the control room how many times we were going to have to do this. Mark said he can hardly wait to be back on the air with me.
Who's letting you guys in the control room, by the way?
No.
But the fact of the matter is we're going to be doing it a lot because both teams are going to be here long enough to establish residency.
Yeah, right?
Right.
Any last words? Oh, what's it? Yep, okay, so yeah, J.D. Vance in Philly. There's some video for you guys.
With a cheese steak.
Check it out.
Oh, it's introduced to
and no Swiss cheese. No Swiss cheese.
Okay. Any final thoughts on all of this? What do we have to hear moving forward? Is there any new things we're going to be able to talk about?
Well, I think both camps really are going to focus on some issues, because there's been so much of this nonsense that's been thrown out there and, name calling. And, Donald Trump thinks he's prettier for some reason. He said, I'm better looking than Kamala Harris. What are you talking about? Why are we dealing in those, superfluous kind of things? Deal with the issues. Let's have a nice confrontation head to head. And I think that Kamala Harris is going to more than hold her own.
I'm going to concede a point to Mark. He is better looking than me.
Oh. But I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure.
Oh, my goodness. Guys, thank you so much. You can catch our political insiders every Sunday morning on Face the State at 8:30. They're here on Thursdays with us as we go beyond the podium. And say again? Perfect. All right, guys, thank you so much, Charlie and Mark. And thank you for watching our CBS 21 special digital broadcast. I'm Jasmine Brooks. I will see you live on air at 5 o'clock.